Good Sunday morning. It is Sunday, April 27th, 2025. I am recording this from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, where my wife and I are picking up our younger daughter, who's finishing up another year of school at the University of Ottawa. We love it here. Some of you may know I'm a dual citizen. My folks are from Quebec, and I was born in the States, but I'm a dual citizen of Canada. Obviously, I love politics. Tomorrow's a big day here in Canada. It's an interesting time to be at the nation's capital up here. It is Election Day. Monday, April 28th will be Election Day. And I want to take a few minutes and just give you a really brief overview about what is a very interesting time here, made more interesting by some events on our side of the border over the last couple of months of this year. So let me run through just so that you know what's going on Monday. First, you'll see this a lot in the next 5 minutes. The color code is the opposite of what we use in the United States. Liberals are the red party. Conservatives are the blue party. So that's the opposite of the US. They have more than two parties here in Canada, and in some cases compete pretty high levels, though apparently not this year. The New Democrats, called NDP, they are typically to the left of the Liberal Party, and they are in orange. And then the Bloc Québécois, they have had different names. Basically, it's a Quebec First party, not so much ideological, very much fighting for Quebec, and they compete almost entirely within the province of Quebec. They're in light blue. And then the Green Party, which is not much of a factor at all right now and is actually struggling to maintain major party status, is obviously in green. A couple of things. First, my daughter's boyfriend, who is a Canadian, was interviewed by Reuters today. They'll be on the news sometime this weekend. He will be. And we're proud of him. We love him. And he did a great job with the interview this afternoon. But one thing you'll notice that's very different from the United States if you spend any time here, and I've spent time in 4 provinces this week picking up my 2 daughters, is it's very different from the United States. The color is everything. So you see the red, the Liberal Party, the blue, the Conservative Party, the orange, the New Democrats. It is the same format, virtually all the signs across the country, block letters with maybe the riding, which is what they call a congressional district. They call them ridings here in Canada, and the parties somewhere on the sign as well. But that's it. There's no slogans. There's no Democrats running with a yellow sign. None of this. The colors are everything. And they're everywhere, obviously, in advance of tomorrow's election. Look, in early January, my first post at stevemarchand.com, my Substack, was actually talking about how Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives here in Canada, was poised to win a historic, massive victory over the very unpopular Justin Trudeau and the Canadian Liberal Party. And I actually did a piece about how the consistency of his messaging was such an important part of getting them that big lead. But then you'll see here, remember, blue is conservative, red is liberal. You can see that after many months, in fact, years of pretty close elections, you could see that the Conservatives had built up about a 25 point lead, had seen nothing like that really in my adult lifetime. And then this guy, Pierre Poilievre, was going to win until this happened. Justin Trudeau announced his resignation in January, just around the same day I wrote that in January. And it turned out that Canadians had as much of a problem with Trudeau as they had with the Liberal Party. So when he left, it opened the door. That was one factor. The second factor, perhaps even bigger, it turns out, this guy, President Donald Trump, when he announced that tariffs were going to begin later in January, and it became clear that he was going to play Canada almost on a day-to-day basis on how much the tariffs would they be paused, would they affect different products, the game changed. And suddenly it became Canada versus the US more than liberals versus conservatives. And it became a rally around the flag approach. And then what happened is the gentleman there, Mark Carney, became the Liberals' choice as the interim prime minister until they had this election, which he called soon after. They called the election. They only had about a 7-week election between when he called the date and when the election is going to happen tomorrow. Everybody started calling the tariffs an existential threat. The miners in British Columbia, which is a key part of the country in terms of being swing votes, there's a lot of energy and mining, natural gas, you name it, existential threat. The auto industry, which is in tremendous harmony with Detroit in southern Ontario, they saw this as an existential threat. The foreign affairs minister, Melanie Joly, she was calling the entire regime an existential threat to Canada. And suddenly, Canadians got the memo. It was an existential threat. It remains so. And what was a big conservative lead, suddenly, as soon as Carney becomes the prime minister and the tariffs, the threat of them, and then eventually some of those tariffs kick in, you can see overnight almost it changes. And all of a sudden, the Liberal Party is up by about 4 points entering election day after being down by 25 points just a few months ago. A few things have happened, and we'll buzz it in a little closer here. You can see where the transition occurred, and it's been a very steady lead for the last several weeks, really the entire general election campaign. The NDP, which is somewhat more liberal than the Liberal Party, was up in the double digits. But as people saw this as the existential threat, the rallying around the Liberal Party occurred, and folks on the center left said there really is a head-to-head race. They had more confidence in Mark Carney, former banker, former economist, somebody who is seen with high approval, especially on economic matters. And suddenly, the tariff became the only thing that mattered. Here's the election. There are 10 provinces plus some territories in the northern part of the country. There are 343 ridings, again, kind of like Congress in the United States. And if you get to 172, you have the control of parliament, and it means your party gets to have the prime minister's position as well. In Eastern and Atlantic Canada, Newfoundland, Labrador, PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, very few seats. Almost all of them are going to be Liberal seats. In Quebec, which is often very competitive, the Bloc Québécois is going to have, you can see, a good chunk of seats, 23 of them, but a lot of seats that could have gone to the Bloc Québécois are instead going to go to the Liberal Party, again, because folks do not want to see disharmony. They don't want to see a coalition government. They would like to have one common voice at this time of great vulnerability for the country. So it turns out the Liberals in red are poised to win an outright majority of the seats in Quebec. Ontario is by far the biggest province. Toronto, one of the biggest city, well, the biggest city in Canada, one of the biggest cities in North America. The Liberals in the suburbs of Toronto are poised to win a lot of seats that the Republicans were going to win. Some of the dynamics we're seeing in the United States about conservatives and Republicans gaining in certain kinds of blue-collar territories, that is floating away. In the suburbs where Republicans, and in this case conservatives in Canada, were enjoying potential great success, those voters have largely come back to the Liberal Party. We go to the Plains. In the center of this enormous country, very few ridings there, and their conservatives tend to do very well and probably will continue to. But again, it's very few seats on the line in Parliament. We get to the west, to Alberta and to British Columbia. Alberta is by far the biggest stronghold for conservatives. You can see 32 of the 37 ridings in the province of Alberta are projected here to go to the Conservative Party. This is from 338canada.com. It's kind of their 538 for Canada. But you can see just in a few of the big cities, Calgary, Edmonton, where Liberals are likely to hold on to a couple of seats. But British Columbia, where Conservatives were hoping to win more of the seats, where the NDP, you see only one seat there. Down here in Vancouver and Victoria, it looked like the orange NDP was going to win a number of additional seats. That's not looking so much, as folks on the left, again, are all coalescing around Mark Carney and the Liberals. That's a quick one. The election is Monday. They've had early voting for about 10 days. Millions of Canadians have already voted. They will count the results pretty quickly. It is expected that Liberals will get a majority of the seats. They have been in a coalition government for the last several years with the NDP, but tomorrow night it looks like they will get an outright majority. You can thank the resignation of Justin Trudeau, but more importantly, oddly, you can thank Donald Trump for the Conservatives' likely defeat Monday night in Canada. It's a small and weird world. Special offer for paid Substack subscribers. Go to stevemarchand.com. You'll get all my written material. Announce that we're going to be having podcasts starting shortly. That will be part of what you get at Substack. It is free for now, but if you want to get all of the goodies, the bells and whistles, please consider subscribing. Paid subscription, $8 a month, $80 a year. You can do that at stevemarchand.com. On June 14th in Bedford, New Hampshire, we're renting out Bedford High School. We'll be doing the Rebuild and Rise 2025 Summit. We, as Democrats, need to start winning again. There are lots of folks counting on us to organize, to use data, to use language better, ideas that work, communicating them, being smart with our data, and focusing on the thing that matters most, winning in 2026 and beyond. You can get all the details at movethegoalpostnh.com. If you are a paid subscriber of my Substack, you'll get free registration for the summit. Otherwise, early bird tickets are $40. It's a deal. It includes a great lunch. We're going to have fantastic programming and speakers, tools you can bring back and use on a daily basis to help Democrats succeed in 2026 and beyond. Please check these things out. It only happens with your support. You can also go to my YouTube page anytime at Steve Marchand NH, where we'll have this and many other videos available for you to watch. You can, again, go to stevemarchand.com for the Substack, go to movethegoalpostnh.com for my political action committee, and all the details for the Rebuild and Rise Summit. It's coming up. But first, a Canadian election on Monday night. Thanks a lot, guys. See you soon. Bye.